Welcome to Slayerfest 98 X-Men Extravaganza. I am one of your hosts, Brett White.
I
And
am me. I'm Michael Hamm. Hammy73, that's me.
And I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and joining us today is writer, comedian, and star of the movie Fire Island, which is one of my new favorite rom-coms.
Oh, thank you. It's Joel Kim Booster. That's me.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank
guys.
you for joining us, Joel. This is so nice to have you.
I'm so excited. I could talk about this show. I could talk about the X-Men. I could talk about all of this shit for hours. So I'm very grateful to be here.
You're in the right spot.
You very much are. This has been so nice, like queering people for this, because there's so many like gay nerds of a certain age that are like, yeah, fuck yeah, I love X-Men.
So, like, my two best friends, like high school, April and Nicole, shout out. Like, we've been friends since high school, and we have our Drag Race group text. Like, we are those kind of people. And they texted me and were like, is the new X-Men like really gay? Just because they've been seeing so many queens and just like gay comedians. I was like, I mean, it's always been gay, but
Right.
the subtext is text. We all saw Magneto's little Speedo in this episode.
I'm watching X-Men for the plot.
Yeah. So we're here to talk episode 8, Tolerance is Extinction, part 1. It's part 1 of the 3-part finale. Brett, I read your article, by the way, which, like, every week Brett puts out articles on the episodes for Decider.com, and every week I fucking learn something by reading them. And even if Brett isn't on for that episode, I'm like, great, now I know more about it going into the recording. Brett, what did you think of the episode overall?
Man, hot damn. I mean, you name an episode Tolerance is Extinction, you need to bring it. Because that's like, we are a statement. This is what I've been trying to tell straight people for so long. Tolerance is fucking extinction. And to come out the gate swinging so hard, God damn, like the action on this show is so good, and everything is just, yeah, man. I mean, hey, I got my Blackbird next to me just for this.
You're gonna need 3 of them,
Yeah, I was
but
about to
that's
say, how many
okay.
have you gone through this
I
month?
keep smashing them. Nah, it was absolutely iconic.
Yeah. Hammy, what'd you think?
I was gonna say surprisingly, really liked it. The action in this show has been unbelievable. So having such an incredibly action-packed show was very, very good for me. But all of the emotional beats also hit too. So yeah, I thought it was great. I'm hesitant about the next couple episodes. I want to know if they can crush it, if they're going to drive it home, but this was a very good start to this 3-parter.
All right. Hammy, I was like, oh God, what is the butt gonna be?
No but.
Joel, what'd you think of the episode?
I thought it was great. I really do. I think what Bo Nemeo has done with this entire series, just sort of remixing and pulling from so many iconic arcs from the comic books, and really doing a wonderful job of balancing both the fan service for the people who know those arcs, and then people like my boyfriend who never read the comic books but are, still really into this show. It really reads, and I thought, like, we talked a little bit about how this is an action heavy episode, but I think for me, like, this was the episode where the action specifically felt the most sort of bombastically comic booky in a really fun way. Like, it just there's so we can get into it later, but I thought it was really, really excellent, and I can't wait to see where he goes. And I think he did a really smart thing of making the whole season about sentinels. Like, he basically pulled every major sentinel plot from the last like 30 years or 40 years of comic books, and sort of tied them all together in this beautiful through line, which I think there were some maybe pacing issues through the season and the art and the build to this point, but I'm so glad we got here.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird. We talked about this a lot in the previous episodes, how cinematic it feels, especially for like a cartoon on Disney Plus. But the action scenes feel like really great, like movie action scenes, or like Akira level anime action scenes. Like, they're just so good. And they're also like, I do think this is hard to pull off with a cartoon. And I am a person who always watches cartoons. I'm not saying that as like cartoons. I'm stoned and I have something stupid on that's a cartoon. But like, I don't often find them like thrilling when there's like an action scene. And I find myself with these, I'm like, oh God, who's gonna die? Like, I'm like genuinely worried that because they're like we have seen there are stakes. We have seen characters, you know, the Genosha episode, I was like, oh, these people are going to die. I didn't expect Gambit to be the like big death. You know what I mean?
R.I.P. on my
baby boy. I think I almost bought that shirt, Brad.
Bitch, I went on Amazon and I was like, Amazon has all these really obscure, like I bought the Joe Jesco Marvel Masterpieces Mr. Sinister on a shirt.
Okay.
I've been like, this is wild. I love Mr. Sinister. He's such a bitch. I love him so.
I've been on the big X-Men shirt chick. I'm like, oh, I feel like a kid. I'm like, oh, I gotta buy X-Men shirts. But yeah, no, I thought this episode did what was it 5 was Remember It? Yeah, 5 was Remember It. That episode, the action was like bananas, but it was more like you knew what we were leading towards. So it was more like, who's dying? Oh God, who's dying now? But this felt like genuine like action movie where you're like, oh God, what's gonna happen? And I keep saying this every fucking episode, but I love the like horror stuff they're infusing it with.
Jesus.
Like all of the Prime Sentinels are basically like fucking Deadites from Evil Dead, and I love it. And I would have never thought to do that. Like if someone told me last year, what do you think of like combining like Deadites with zombies with Sentinels? I'd have been like, oh, that's fucking dumb. But this works so well.
I do want to point out the one thing I feel very passionate about is the genius level opening credits, god tier Easter egg tomfoolery that this goddamn show has been pulling off. The humans that are in the opening credits at the end as the heroes and the villains are rushing towards each other are Prime Sentinels. All of those human beings are in this episode as Prime Sentinels. The meta-textual tomfoolery of hiding Prime Sentinels, which are Sentinels that hide amongst the population in the opening credits, they were hidden all along, is wild.
Yeah, it's just like another genius move on his part because he knows that opening credit sequence is so iconic and so beloved. And rather than just, you know, update it, he's actually utilizing it in this really smart, fun way, filling it with Easter eggs. I think, kudos. You know, I like stand and applaud at this show often when I'm watching.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've done a really good job of, you know, stereotypically, we've all said it's the intro you never skip. It's always, since the 90s, it's the intro you never skip. And they've done such a great job of being, like, taking that and being like, now it's literally the intro you can't skip. Not the one you won't, it's the one you can't. Because you skip that, you miss 12 different Easter eggs. You don't know who's going to be in the credits, who's not going to be in the credits, who are they going to put in this time, what's in the background. And it's just such a great, like, I sit there and I freeze frame it. I've never freeze framed an intro before, but I'm like, is that new? And I'm going back to a previous episode and being like, no, okay, that was in the last one. That was in the last one. Is that
they
new?
use it as an extension of the previously on, which is like so smart. They know like episodes that are Gambit and Rogue heavy, they're going to have that one shot of them on the basketball court. And it's like, that's a brilliant way to use opening credits as like more of a refresher. God damn, it's just so fucking good.
You know, now that we're talking about that, I can't think of another show that has smartly used the credits this way. Like there's other credits I've loved. And you know,
Buffy, I think. I mean, I love the Buffy. Yeah.
I was going to say like Buffy kind of did it with the Tara fake out. But I can't think of another show that like changes them up this much to like reflect the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those things where, especially prestige shows, I think, who are the only shows really that are still utilizing opening credit sequences in a really big way, they all look exactly the same. They all saw Game of Thrones and all said like, okay, we're going to do our own version of that. And there are all these like computer generated, like sort of, you know, screensaver
White Lotus intros playing through my head right now. That's
well, wait, speaking of White Lotus, didn't White Lotus hide a bunch of stuff in this last season's opening credits too? I think like if you pay attention to the art that's featured in the White Lotus opening, it also gives some clues,
but it's there though. It's like
the season is going to go.
I think it's the same the whole time though. They don't like change it.
It is the same.
And I mean, to be fair, I never skipped those credits either because that was a fucking good theme song.
And the theme song, yeah, exactly.
I still like sometimes will put that on a playlist. But yeah, so we kind of jump into it real quickly. And Joel, you mentioned pacing issues. I was going to ask if anyone had any issues with the pacing here because it was kind of like, oop, tables there. We're like, when I did my first watch, I was like, I'm not really sure why they are where they are, but all right, I'm having a great time. Like when they were at Bastion's like family's house.
Yeah, I think the thing for me, this was there's been maybe 2 or 3 moments, and I know I just said that he did a really good job of weaving all of this together so that like, in real nerds and then casual viewers will all understand the same things. But I will say the build up to the Bastion reveal happened so fast, and then the flashback montage that we're given to set him up happens in a blink of an eye. Like if you're looking down at your phone, you could miss literally the hundreds of issues of comic books that are slammed into this like 3-second montage of Bastion. And so I will say, like, my boyfriend was deeply confused by like who this man is and like what is his deal and why is he a villain. And I think he probably could have done a slightly better job of building up into that reveal and doing a better job of explaining who he was and why he was doing what he is. But it might just be stuff that is covered later on in these next 2 episodes too.
I did find myself being like, okay, but where is Storm? Why isn't she there yet? But I do trust these writers, and I was like, we'll probably get an explanation why, or like she went to do something else, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, definitely.
We get this flashback forward, whatever. It's flashback for Cable, but a flash forward for everyone else. Brett, we get a lot of cameos, right? I only noticed Rachel Gray and Polaris.
But also the 2 unnamed mutants from season 1, 92 season 1's Days of Future Past, which is redheaded girl with the pink jacket and blue baseball cap, and metal arms guy who are
the classic cameos.
Yeah, they still don't have names, but when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, these guys are so cool. And now, now they're breaking rocks or something.
The one that got me really excited was, of course, Spider-Man, who, obviously we feel a little oversaturated with Spider-Man right now with this current era that we're living through. But at the same time, it did make me sort of be like, they're leaving money on the table if they don't do Spider-Man, 98 or whatever year they need to do that for.
No, I agree. No, and like, I mean, that's towards the end though, but I will say that reminded me of back when this cartoon first aired, they didn't have those issues of like who owns, like it was kind of just like Marvel's kind of bankrupt. Here's a cartoon, do whatever. Because I remember specifically in Dark Phoenix Saga when she does her big whatever, and we go to Earth and we see like Doctor Strange and Thor,
Black Panther and Thor,
I love that shit. And for me, I know people can rag on like cameos, and like you said, Joel, like sometimes people are like, we're a little saturated, but that feels very comic booky, right? To be like, here's a panel of Spider-Man being like, what the fuck's going on? Because he also lives in this world.
It makes it feel like a Marvel universe. Like this is the most complete version of the MU that we've ever seen. And so like, I don't know. I think like I would love an Avengers cartoon set in this reality, Spider-Man cartoon set in this reality. Like let's just
and this is the crazy thing about Marvel is that like if you compare so a little background on me is that X-Men is the only Marvel property that I regularly bought growing up. I was a DC boy through and through, which I know is like not as cool these days, mostly because the extended media has not really been serving. But I will say this, DC, their cartoons, top notch. All of them, a lot of them great. I mean, the recent movies have been kind of bad, but their cartoon shows have always been really, really strong, I find. And with Marvel, outside of X-Men and Spider-Man, they really haven't had like all of their attempts at an Avengers cartoon have been bad.
Hilarious.
I think most of the X-Men projects have been kind of I maybe was a little too old at that point for X-Men Evolution. I don't know, but it wasn't for me. Wolverine and the X-Men better, but still sort of not quite what you wanted it to be. And so it's nice that this feels like a return to form. Like they're really actually nailing a cartoon for the first time in a long time.
God, yeah.
Yeah, with like I watched What If season 1. I didn't watch season 2. It was cute, but it just like never like fully hit for me.
Tie in to where we are right now in the plot, because they talk about like Wolverine's like, why the fuck haven't you stopped Genosha, you motherfucker? I love Wolverine. Is pretty great in this episode. And Cable's like, I keep doing it, and I can't. I keep not. And Beast points out the sorcerers of Kamartaj talk of absolute points, which Kamartaj is where the MCU Doctor Strange did stuff
where we character assassinate Scarlet Witch. Yes.
And And absolute points is from the What If episode where he keeps trying to stop Christine Palmer from dying, and Tilda Swinton, animated Tilda Swinton, is like, absolute point.
Just remembered this. I thought of this while watching it the first time and didn't think of it till you just mentioned those two random mutants, Brett, that are like no name. The redhead this is going to be a very specific reference that I don't know if any of you, probably Brett, will. The redhead is styled and outfitted in colors exactly like the Mary Jane Watson toy McDonald's gave out in their Happy Meals for their Spider-Man toys.
Yes.
And she's a redhead.
Yes. Maybe that's what it was.
Deeply important. Yeah.
Yes, I had to point that out. Hammy, don't judge me. I can see you.
No, there was no judgment in me tipping my head over and pressing my temples.
And didn't that Happy Meal toy have like a snap-on, like different outfit you could put on?
Oh, because I loved it. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I was like, oh, yeah. 2 outfits.
Yeah, and such a cheat too, because you were technically still getting a boy toy because it was Spider-Man, but all the joy of the girl toy.
But yeah, like great. I didn't have to feel shame and being like, Mom, can you ask for the girl toy? Sure.
Well, and you know what the wonderful thing is about this show is, for a modern day Marvel property, it does not feel bogged down with trying to be like continuous with like anything else but the old cartoon, and like is pulling in some of the most like insane plot threads and like not caring about connecting. Like, they are not asking us to ask the question of, does it make sense that Rachel Summers is there yet, which I find so refreshing, because I think we're all feeling a little fatigued by the MCU and like the the pressure for everything to connect and make sense. And I just think this is so much more in the spirit of like comic books of right,
just
because
along with it.
You could be reading X-Men and like, I don't know, Wolverine could blow up at the end of an issue, but he's in like maybe he's in the Avengers next month.
Yeah, he's in Avengers West.
And it's like, fine, right? Yeah.
No shade to the original series. I feel like there were a lot of cameos back then where they were like, I don't know, let's throw it in. Let's do whatever we want. It felt a little bit more haphazard, where this show has really generated trust in its audience, so that when we see a Rachel Gray, we don't just think that's nothing. We trust you to do what you will with her. We're not going to ask you to do anything with her, though, but we know we will. We know, or at least I feel, everything in this show has been done for a very specific reason. There is not a frame that doesn't matter, so I trust when I see Rachel that they have something for her. Maybe not next season, maybe not the season after that, but they did not put her in there just as a random cameo.
I mean, like, a lot of the original series was, I can't remember where it was animated, but I think it was literally like they just sent them comics. They're like, the most infamous example is the opening credits of the original series when the bad guys are running and it's like Thunderbird or Warpath is in there, and then a tiny little pink dude who might be Gargoyle, a Hulk villain, like
the Leewolds have said that is no one. I had them on and they were like, the original showrunners are like, that's nothing. That was a mistake. Yeah. They just had room, and so they created a random, weird, small character.
And watch that weird, random, small character be the big bad of season 2 of X-Men.
God, I would love.
And they've also said kind of what you said, Hammy, that Larry Houston, who he gets a credit on this too, right?
Yeah, he's a consultant. Yeah,
consultant, right?
I think all 3 of them are.
Yeah. That he was a big comics fan, so he would just be like, put this character in this scene. Like, he just liked doing that because he was a big comics fan. And the rest of them kind of are like, sure, whatever, because it didn't matter, right? They were allowed to use whoever the fuck they wanted, which is such a nice freedom to have, and like we have it here. So we move on from the Vision to, which confused me when the news is like, special report, Xavier is alive. And I was like, how do they have the news from the Shi'ar galaxy?
Dude, because Bastion's got first of all, the UN needs to get real world UN needs to get their PR team together, because I am not trusting the UN anymore, because UN shady stuff is going down. It is wild how much the X-Men 97 cartoon is just dragging the UN, because they said like the UN released this footage. So it's like Bastion is working with the UN and giving them footage to like,
well, quite explicitly, because what's that blonde bitch's name?
Valerie Cooper.
Yeah.
This is wild.
I cannot believe that Disney didn't like fully censor any of the government shit that they talk about. Like in any
They
other
didn't
show,
make it like it's the global council. Look,
Yes.
this is the
Yeah, yeah,
United
yeah, yeah.
Nations.
like I can't believe that they actually say, yeah, the UN, and they don't like make it something else.
Well, that's particularly weird because the MCU has a specific rule now where, like, the Pentagon used to exist in the MCU movies, but apparently Marvel decided that Shield was ahead of the Pentagon, so the US was like, well, then the Pentagon can't be in the movies because nothing is above the Pentagon. So, like, the
That is
Pentagon as an
petty.
institution does not exist in the Marvel movies anymore.
Fucking, of
God.
course.
America.
Ladies.
I love
Petty
America.
bitches.
Motherfucker, don't brag all the way from Canada.
I'm so sorry. Oh,
So
Twist the knife, why don't you, with that fucking story?
Brett, as your article informed me, I missed that blip of William Stryker
oh yeah,
then when he's on the news, right?
that's wild. I mean, of course he would be a Fox News talking head is fucking William Stryker, Reverend William Stryker. And I also I included that 1982 news report where
Oh,
they
yeah.
did a news report on God Loves Man Kills at the time, and it's this news anchor in 1982 being like, and the villains in the X-Men comic is a conservative Christian pastor. And it's just funny to me because it's like, yeah, comics have always been political and assholes have always like missed the point. So nothing new. So can't wait to see William
Yes.
Stryker piss off conservatives, I guess next season.
Yeah, I try not to talk about it every time, but like, my God, the like backlash of like, it's like the X-Men have just always been political. You're an idiot. I don't know
Yeah.
what to say. And like every one of the voice actors that I've got on is like, yeah, that's what it always was. I don't know how people didn't get that.
It wasn't subtle.
Yeah.
No, God, it's oppression. I mean,
like that first episode is Jubilee being hunted for who she is at the mall. Like,
and then the X-Men breaking into a government building and burning all their files.
Yeah, if anything, oftentimes it's a little on the nose,
Yeah.
like the actor that they're working with.
It's like, cool it down. It is very telling, though, that like you can tell Roberto's mom is like not on the cool side because that's the channel she has on in a way. It's like when
I was just about to say, I love Roberto's mom being kind of centrist conservative because, right, she's like, oh, I'm holding a charity fundraiser for all of those, those poor mutants that were killed, but then is like, but not in our house. Like you said, Joel, some of it could be on the nose. I'm glad that her, like, the way she reacts to mutants is not fully on the, like, it's like a little bit like, well, no, I want to help these poor people, but gross, not my son. And that, like, feels more real than like a cartoony, like her just being like, mutants are disgusting. I hate them all. Which whomst among us has not, met a family member or someone like that who would be like nice to a queer person that is not in their family, but then when it is, it's like, oh. I like Jubilee having no time for his mother. Because I love Jubilee. I've been a little like, all right, I want her to do a little more. Her episode was cute, but this, I thought she really shined in this episode.
Oh, bitch, I have a hunch we are getting... Sorry, this is me just jumping to the
Jubilee.
Oh, God, well, she's dressing like it. That's where
I would love Vampire Jubilee.
God,
you and me are the only people.
Single mom Jubilee coming in. But Operation Zero Tolerance is one of the absolute best Jubilee stories of all time, because when she gets kidnapped and it's just her and Bastion's just like trying to torture her and get information out, and it's just Jubilee just razzing the fuck out of Bastion, and like you can't, I'm like it. And also because we see Bastion's little sidekick in this episode is Daria from the comics, the bald-headed girl with the big earrings.
I had no clue who that was, Brett, till I read your article.
Bitch, I mean, is that Chris Pachalo 90s Gen X run all about it? And she's the little sentinel that helps Jubilee escape because she like kind of is like, oh, Jubilee's cool because Jubilee is cool. So I am really hoping that since Jubilee gets captured at the end of this episode, that we're gonna get Jubilee versus Bastion. Jubilee taking out
there's one thing that she's good at, it is being captured. We have learned that over the course of our time.
Dean faints, Jubes gets captured.
Also, I gotta tell you all that every time Vampire Jubilee comes up, I think of this. When I worked at BuzzFeed, I wrote a piece about why Jubilee's actually really great. And it was like, I think she had just become a vampire that year, or maybe the year, but like whatever. It was like more recent. And my boss reviewed the article and she was like, oh, I really liked your Jubilee piece, but like try not to include fan fiction when you're writing about comics. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, oh, the fan fiction part about Jubilee being a vampire. I was like, oh no, that's real. That's in the comics.
They decided to do that.
Fiction. Oh my god. I really like that they did kind of a swap too with Jubilee, where Jubilee was the one who said "you people" and Roberto's mom was the one who was offended by that.
Yeah.
I just, it caught me so off guard, and I just sat there for a minute to think about it, and I was just like, because obviously Roberto's mom is rich, but she's a person of color, but she's a
Right.
rich person of color, and you've got Jubilee, who's also a person of color. And I was just sitting there like, I don't know, there was something, I'm too white to figure out why that was powerful, but I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
All right, Joel, we
was-
got to discuss this. As the Latino and the Asian here, we got to discuss.
Right.
Please no.
Oh my God, Brett, I have told so many people how you got, oh God, what was her name? The
Lana
actress-
Condor.
Brett
Jubilee-
interviewed her and got her to say the does a mall baby
Does a
chili
mall
fry.
baby eat chili fries? Oh.
Was this mall it kind of looked like the mall
It looked like,
from
yeah.
right? Another thing this episode did really well was breaking the characters like off into like little, we got the Sunspot and Jubilee, we got everyone at the mansion, we got the Summers family. And I liked, for me, that was like a really good job of breaking up the action while still having action in every fucking scene. We learned that Rogue is still like in a coma.
I mean, she
kinda?
got the shit punched out of her by. It is Bolivar because it's Oliver
disputed
spelled
this-
ER.
We
Oliver
disputed this in the
spelled
last
ER.
episode.
I realized they're saying Bolivar, but it's spelled Bolivar. VAR.
I mean,
This is the hill I die on when it comes to
I'm such a like fucking, you could tell me for a fact it's one or the other, and you could
I
tell me
don't
different
know.
things in an hour, and I'd be like, yeah, that tracks. That sounds
Well,
right. Say it confidently and I'll believe you.
Well, she's in a coma. She's hurt.
Rogue is in a coma. Because I kept waiting. I was like, I want to see Rogue punch the shit out of these fucking sentinels. We get that nice scene between Jean and Nightcrawler.
I think that sequence of Wolverine falling into the mansion and then followed up by Nightcrawler with three fucking swords. Like that was the sequence that I was like, this is so crazy and over the top and bombastic and stupid, but like in the best possible way. Like those two sequences back to back, I was like, this is something that it would be really hard to recreate in a live action movie. And it felt like it was the cartoon fight, like really, really taking advantage of all of the things that you can do in animation that you can't do in a live action X-Men movie. And it was really fun and thrilling.
I did try to think of that. I was like, how would this work? Because, the X2 I still think is good. I
think it's the best X-Men movie that we have. Honestly.
And like, some of it's still dated, but I do think that opening Nightcrawler scene is still like pretty fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Like there are certain clips that like, if I'm stoned, I'll be like, well, remember that scene? Let me look up that scene. And that is a scene I will revisit often. And I'll just be like, this is fucking cool.
We recently got to tell Kelly Hu that she played a hand in me being gay as Lady Deathstrike, and then I didn't even know at the time that she was coming back as Lady Deathstrike. It was like, Wolverine, but it's your fucking nails. Yes, please sign me up. I'm on board. I'm not getting off.
Just a great like what 40-inch pony, like just the hair, so good.
I always wanted a figure of specifically her with those like nail claws. So I thought she looked so fucking cool. Joel, I love that. Was she used to like gays coming up to her talk about X-Men? Or
no, in fact, I don't think she's ever heard that, because she was like, she was like, what? Like, she was like, I don't quite understand like how that connects to your sexuality. And I was like, because you slayed. Like, I don't know how else to explain it to you.
The nails, mama. Like,
yeah.
It is really funny. So I've interviewed a couple of like the women from Buffy, and like when like, oh, everyone says this online. How do you've never heard this before? Like, it's very weird when like I'm talking to them like face to face and I'm like, oh, because everyone calls you mom or queen, and they're like, they do? Why? And I'm like, well, it's a gay thing, we just say that. Brett, do you know in the original series, I know Nightcrawler was only in it sparsely, but I was a little like, wait, him and Jean Grey like don't know. Like, it seems like he knew the X-Men pretty well, but
No, he only really ever interacted with because he first appeared in the episode where like Wolverine, Rogue, and Gambit go to like a chalet.
Oh.
And he's there with like the monks or whatever. Like, yeah, Rogue, Gambit, and Wolverine were really the only ones he ever really interacted with.
All right, that's fair. Because the cartoon did do the thing that I loved where like it didn't always have to use every character, right? Like some episodes was just Wolverine and Gambit and Wolverine, and it was fine.
The episode where Wolverine finds Jesus by the end of it. Remember?
I don't know that I remember.
Because by the last scene of the episode is Rogue like walking by the church in town, and Wolverine's in there like praying.
Ooh, yeah, definitely.
Which, as a Southern Baptist child, I was like, yay!
God. I guess what we'll do is I want to like kind of split this up into, we'll talk about the Val Cooper Magneto of it all. I was like still waiting for a reveal with her. Like I kept being like, what is her fucking deal? Like, what are we doing? Like, is she a Prime? I was surprised she wasn't a Prime Sentinel.
Good.
And
They took my Trish Tilby away. Let's keep Val Cooper fierce.
I like she's dressed as the like lady Prime Sentinels in this episode. So I was like, oh well, she's got to be one, but then she wasn't, and I didn't quite get what her deal with Bastion was because she clearly felt bad. But like, what the fuck did she think was gonna happen? Right?
Well, as she said in her end monologue of like, this was always going to happen. Genosha was always going to happen. Shouldn't have surprised any of us. Like,
Hammy, do you have a?
I think there's still time for her to become a Prime Sentinel. There's no reason to have put her in that outfit. Maybe as a red herring, maybe to throw us off and make us feel like she's going to be and she's not. But I also wonder if this is all on purpose, right? Like if
it could be the only thing that she has to wear.
Because everyone who's in here, they should have put Sinister in one too. Sinister could have had one.
She looked.
I do love the little touch of in the comic books. Every time a hero gets kidnapped, they're always either reduced to being naked or in a Speedo. Or they're in like the weird mechanical turbine things, and like the women have two, and the men have one.
Up. They're like fully chained up.
And I love
it's like
that.
Let's just say I think it was a little formative for me as I developed.
Well, like there's the first Genosha arc in like Uncanny 240 something where like it's Wolverine and Rogue just beating the shit out of everyone fully naked. Like, and I love that they were like, well, Magneto's captured. He should clearly be wearing like the tiniest bikini that Disney Plus will allow, right?
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Magneto, so like, Magneto's always been like jacked, but I've never been so horny for Magneto before as I am in this cartoon.
But no, correct.
And I think that's the point. I think
I saw the meme going around that was like, you never wear black panties unless you want someone to see, and that's all I can think of with Magneto. Was like, why was he already wearing those? Like, is that what he was? He knew something was happening.
Sinister's got like a drawer, and he's like, it's time to put these on.
That's even better. I love that.
He's like, I got the cute ones for Magneto.
Yeah, take that one to nifty.org immediately. That scenario.
Send me the link when you write it, Brett.
Yeah. I love
but I did like that we did get a lot of talking here, and I like that. I like that we like pause to have these like scenes of them just fucking talking. Because
the bureaucracy of it all, where like Bastion's like, yeah, I'm launching my Prime Sentinel program, and Dr. Doom is like, okay, don't mistake me being here as like you being better than me, you little bitch. Like
I was a little gooped by those Dr. Doom and Baron Zemo cameos. I was like, all right. Look, my little thumbs up thing popped up. I also like that Magneto didn't fucking take her with him. Magneto was like, thanks, bye. Good luck. Because I mean, I probably would not want to take her with me either.
Val Cooper is such a honest to God badass bitch in the comics, and I fucking love Val Cooper, and so like I want her to get more of those moments. Like, god damn, just so I'm hoping that she I cursed Trish Tilby last time I was on here when I was like, I want some fierce Trish Tilby.
Well, you got it, Brad.
Damn it. Wolverine cut her in two. Ugh.
I feel like Val doesn't feel like she deserves to go with Magneto. Like I feel like she, in a way, is like,
Oh, yeah.
you go do something. I am prepared to like
Yeah.
just get
Suffer the
absolutely wrecked
consequences.
by
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is all possibly Bastion's plan. He wants Magneto to get out. He wants Magneto to do some real bad stuff so that the world is like,
Yes.
wow, mutants are terrible, huh?
They
Xavier
suck.
lied to us. Magneto stopped everyone's fucking power.
Cell
Everyone in the
phones and all.
hospitals just died.
We've talked about this a lot, and this is a thing that I genuinely like. It brings me all the joy. I almost said no joy. It brings me all the joy because it's like they're mashing up so many comic storylines. None of the four of us can like be like, oh, this is absolutely what they have to be doing, because they're doing such a good job of like remixing these storylines. And that's so fun because it's like, we know Bastion, but like, I don't fully know his plan here because it's kind of
because like what I loved, one of the little moments I loved in this episode is when the X Mansion's on fire and Bastion rolls up in his fucking Rolls Royce and there's a shot of him getting out. And I'm like, that's from X-Men number 65. That's from the very first chapter of Operations. It's like such a tidy moment. And I'm so glad that they like just stuck that in there.
I just feel like we're eating so well. Like when Jean Grey was on, they were doing cleanup on Genosha, and she said, I can sense somebody. I was like, oh my God, we're getting Diamond Emma Frost.
Yeah.
Like, this is so amazing. Like, I want her to join the team. Like, give me full Grant Morrison, new X-Men. Like, I want that entire arc next season. I want it all. I want the Cuckoos. Give me everything.
Yeah, we're getting,
I feel like the thing that I think we said this last time you were on, Brett, but the thing I feel a little bit more confident that we're heading towards is like a schism type storyline where it's like we will get like not the full team together anymore in season 2. Because
it could be like an Australian Outback era where it's, or like this just because well, that's also the end of the episode, is like the fact that Xavier is back and Magneto just pulled the like most Magneto thing he could ever do. Like we're heading towards whose philosophy is right, and we're putting it to the fucking test right now.
And like, I think I'll be kind of into that if it's like, oh, we got a team over here, we got a team over here. Like these people don't like those people. I would be.
Since we're here, can we stop really quick? What are some either characters or arcs that you would love to see them incorporate in the next 2 seasons? You'd love to see a remixed version of
anything X-Force, like the fact that Sunspot is flying, and that's sort of from the Tony Daniel, Fabian Nicieza X-Force run. I fucking like X-Force is my favorite comic of all time, the original run. So like, give me Cannonball, give me Boom Boom, give me Warpath, give me Siren,
Boom Boom,
give me Cable and Domino. God, I just like, I would live. Ugh.
The little boy in me would like to see Onslaught. Very badly. Yeah, I think that's what I would.
That would be an amazing thing. Like if they actually do launch an Avengers, and like if they get a universe together and then do Onslaught,
that would be cool.
That would be dope.
God,
so dope.
I feel like I want Astonishing because I love that is like one of my favorite.
I was gonna bring that up. I know, but it's so like
I know.
but I was gonna bring that up too because my favorite X-Man will forever and always be Kitty Pryde. I think especially like, I mean, talk about this show has done such a great job of doing what the comics have done in the last 2 decades, which is rehab Cyclops and make Cyclops kind of a badass. Like you can always tell people who didn't read the comic books and who just watched the old cartoon when they were like, oh, Cyclops sucks. Cyclops is a Boy Scout, like, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, oh no, you don't know him like I know him. And like, I really want that for Kitty Pryde too, because I don't think Kitty has ever had a really great showing in any other media outside of the comics.
She's never been on the 90s cartoon. Like it's wild. She's like the one character that just like never appeared.
Never gets used.
And so she's a fresh start kind of character. Her and like I would love Psylocke to get that too.
Oh yeah. But I think they are like, we could very easily go into Astonishing next season with you know, they're setting up, you know, they have Emma here now. I mean, they could introduce Kitty. I just think like the Bullet would be so fun to see in whatever way they want to create it there. It would be great.
I almost feel like we could do a mashup of that and like, I don't know, like I'm thinking like that, and then one of my favorite storylines that's not really that whatever is, oh god, I can't even, the one where it's like the last of the Greys, where they're like killing the Grey family.
Yeah.
And like one of my single favorite issues of X-Men is where they all like have to teleport to the Grey family reunion to try and save them, and they fucking fail, and like the whole
everyone
family is
dies.
murdered. Like that's one of
End of Greys.
that is, yes, End of Greys. That's like my favorite single issue of a comic, because I love that they're like teleporting in, and it's just like whoever Nightcrawler can teleport, because whoever's in the mansion, because they're all just like hanging out, and like that they fail. I don't know. I just am always big on a like, I don't know. I like horror movies, so I like it if it's like, oh fuck, they didn't get to do the thing. So I feel like there could be a mashup of that.
Also, all of Colossus's family is still alive, and so they all got to die one by one and drive him insane.
Well, and I mean, talk about like, I would also like to see them tackle some storylines that I didn't necessarily vibe with at the time. Like, I mean, it would be really interesting to see their take on like House of M. You know, like what, give us 3 episodes of that. You know, I don't need a full season of that necessarily, but if
You won't get it with this show, it'll be one episode.
It'll be one episode. Is so great. But it's also like the fact that this one episode of television, because I went through like all the references that I clocked, is like, you know, Jean talking about absorbing Madeline's memories is from 1989 or so. And then you have Sunspot flying, the EMP wave is from 93. And then you go into Operation Zero Tolerance and Bastion's little friend Daria. But then you also go to the tri-headed Sentinel attacking Genosha, which is, you know, new X-Men. Like the fact that they're pulling from everything. I mean, we could get a rehash of Giant Size X-Men #1 next season, right? Like,
I mean, we got Powerless Rogue, which, speaking of Madeline being gone now, I would love to see the Storm Cyclops battle for the leadership position, but this time, because Madeline is already gone, they cannot retcon it to say that Cyclops was forced to lose the fight. This time we can just have badass Rogue beating the shit out of Cyclops.
I wouldn't be mad at that if like Rogue was the one fighting him for leadership.
Or Storm, sorry, Storm.
Yeah. But either way,
I wouldn't.
Baby.
I didn't realize they retconned it to be that he was forced.
Yeah, later on, Madeline reveals that she was using her powers to force Scott to lose the fight between him and Storm.
That's
which is so lame.
Yeah. So Brett has been talking about how much he loves Trish Tilby. I kept wanting her to be more Gale Weathers. I was like, I want her to be like sassier and like mean.
No, that's what she is in the comics. Like the arc where she's in space with them because she just happened to be there when Gladiator got all of them is a great run. The older I've gotten, the more I've related to Beast. Non-sociopath Beast, not this last like 10
I saw your
years
face, Hammy. I was like,
yes, it goes.
I also like war crimes.
No, but like 70s Avengers, happy-go-lucky but super smart, but also probably like, you know, gets high and listens to Wings kind of Beast. I love him. So I was like wanting him to get some little happiness, but that ain't happening.
I need to know your reaction when Trish Tilby turned into.
I mean, I saw it coming. They telegraphed that. As soon as like everyone started turning, it's like, oh, all bets are off, baby. Any human. I do not believe that she volunteered.
I was going to ask.
You need to believe that. You need to believe that for your own.
No.
I was going to ask, like, that is a thing that I'm still not fully clear. Two things I'm not clear on with the Prime Sentinels. If everyone volunteered, and if, like, is Trish Tilby dead?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because they kept putting themselves back together. But
I think, I think that she's a robot now.
Joel, you mentioned Lady Deathstrike from X2, and you know, I kept thinking of, no, remember in X2 when Lady Deathstrike is just mind controlled, but they kill her? Like, there's no like, we got you, we'll break the mind control. It's just like, well, we gotta kill her.
Nope, fill her full of adamantium and let her sink to the bottom.
But what a way to go!
I mean,
crying. The adamantium tears. Oh.
God, so iconic. But like, I'm wondering if that's where we're going, or if it's like, if there's like a switch where it's like, well, we got rid of the Prime Sentinels, now the people are back to being humans, or if it's like, no, Wolverine cut Trish Tilby in half, that reporter is dead.
Yeah, I think they're all fucking
dead. Yeah,
I don't know. when Bastion was with Sinister, didn't he say something about how they don't know that all this? Oh, never mind. Right, they don't know it. Then they wake up, and then they can turn
Yeah.
anytime. So that's not a reverse thing. They can't just like be
Right.
back to
Because yeah,
people.
he did imply that they don't fully know what they're signing up for.
Yeah. But I also think he probably saw, oh, this reporter bitch just like walk right into the X Mansion. I'm 100%
Yeah,
like dipping her in my green robo goo.
Yeah. When we get the Trish Tilby like switch up where she like goes to see Hank and we like feel, like you said, they do telegraph it. We were like, oh fuck, this is what we're getting towards. That's when like everything goes to shit, right? And I was trying to think of, I mean, I'm sure there are a bunch, but like there's definitely like, it felt familiar. I was like, wait, what movie is it? Like, it felt like it was from a specific movie where like everything goes to shit at the same time, but maybe that's just a general movie thing. I don't know.
It was cool to have them all split up like that too. Yeah. Because like while they're doing that, do we want to talk about the Summers family road trip?
Yes. The old lady reminded me, this is so stupid, but of in Ace Ventura when he goes to see the old lady and she's like, laces out. That's what it reminded me of. Anyway, Joel, what do you think of that?
Pulling some references today. Happy Meal toys, Ace Ventura. Like, I really cannot.
I feel like every dumb, obscure reference I've made has landed flat with you, Joel, and you're like, what the fuck is he talking about? But what'd you think of that scene, Joel?
I thought it was great. I mean, again, it was like another example of this show really doing action super well, super fun. I thought like their relationship and their interaction with each other, the chemistry that the three of them like, and again, it's sort of a magic trick that they got there. So they managed to get there, and it was believable. But really, in the span of an episode, basically, it was like a fun, family dynamic. I will say this has always been my pet peeve with Cable is like, babe, why are you using this gun? You got powers. Like, we never see Cable use powers. Like, my boyfriend turned to me yesterday and he was like, wait, does he have, like, what is his ability?
Because we never one of the most powerful telekinetics in existence. Well, for a while he was downplaying it because he was like,
I feel like it's like the 90s is like the reason, right? Like
they didn't know who he was for like the first 2 years he was a character. It wasn't until like 93 or so when they were like, no, he has telekinesis. But he's always using it to like keep the virus in check, which is where part of the problem. But then later he gets like Jedi powers kind of and figures out how to do it.
I don't think I knew this much about Cable until this very minute.
I love Cable. Cable's also a lawyer.
What?
Give us that spinoff. The Good Wife meets Cable.
Yeah, God, love it. But no, I love like the moment where the Blackbird's crashing and then it just like his fucking car just shoots out. The shot of Cable like pulling Cyclops up to like also be up top so he can use his optic blast to like punch a hole through. And I was like, oh, like he's helping his dad like get up so they could like, do superhero stuff together. And I was just like, I felt so happy for Cyclops.
A nice family moment. I do like that even Jean Grey makes the joke when she's like, Hank's gonna be pissed. This is the third Blackbird. Like, because as soon as I showed the Blackbird, I was like, well, that's blowing up later.
Oh, 100% all the time.
They love blowing up those ships.
It was fun, but and probably my only like major nitpick was it kind of highlighted the inconsistencies of the Prime Sentinels, which I've since then retconned it in my own head to be like Sinister's just having fun. So he's made them all different. They're all different strengths. Some can blast, some can do force shield, some
it's the Uruk-hai problem, right? Like the Buffy, like how season 7, is that what they're called? Where like the Turrican, whatever, comes out of nowhere, and it's like this episode, it's the one, and it is the hardest thing to fucking beat. And then the finale, like Anya's just
everyone can kill them.
Right, they can. Yeah, that was kind of what I was focused on while I was watching the scene, because like you, Ian, I love the horror aspects of this show. I love horror. So when Bastion's mom turned and she was like, this, I was like, this is amazing. None of the other ones did that. They all just went pink. And I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. I was excited for all these people, like the family that's sitting on the couch holding their kids, and like the parents turn and the kids don't. I was going to be like, this is going to be sick. And they just like went pink, and then it cut away. And I was like,
I have a feeling that might have been expensive to animate.
I think
a lot of them turn off camera. Like Trish, I think like you
Off
just turn
camera.
and she's already there
Yeah.
as a prime sentinel. So I think
I loved the
think that was like an animation like budget cut sort of.
They
The
saved it
gays
for
at the
that
cookout?
sword fight, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
yeah.
Hammy,
The gays at the cookout who turned. I like the gays at the cookout.
Hammy, I love that you saw the family because I too was like, is this family gonna murder their children? Or like, are the children gonna like turn into evil robots too? But then we
Hell
cut
yeah.
away from them. And I was like, oh,
Sad.
all right.
Speaking of body horror, talk about two characters I'd love to see in this iteration of X-Men, because I agree the mom turning was like so sick. I love some of the body, like give us like Marrow and Husk, you know, like
Please,
let me see
please.
how Husk is gonna, rip off her skin every single
That's
episode. That would be
my
so
favorite
dope.
thing about like early Gen X is Jubilee just being so disgusted by that power and also being like, can you stop leaving your skin everywhere?
And like, I feel like Monet would kill in this
Oh, yeah.
cartoon, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
you
God.
know what? Give
Oh.
them do Generation X next season. I'd be happy with
I
that.
would
Please.
fucking love that.
And Banshee, my number one crush. God damn. Just give me
Well,
Irish
he died
daddy.
in Genosha.
Well,
Jono's
whatever.
my favorite because I love a butterface.
Yeah. Hot butter.
Yeah.
Flaming.
So the Summers family, they have their chase while Jubilee and Sunspot are at the mall, and they also get attacked by Roberto's butler. And then like 90% of the people in the mall. I thought this action scene was really good too. Like,
Well, I had the same problem that Hammy had, but with specifically this segment, because I was like, okay, I can buy that Wolverine and Beast can like hold their own and survive against, a dozen Prime Sentinels. And the same with the Summers family. I was a little bit like, wow, I was like, these two like teens are really like running circles around these Prime Sentinels right now.
Well, these were the slow Prime Sentinels that couldn't fly as fast as the X or as fast as a jet. These were the ones that the Prime Sentinel was just like running through the mall chasing them, and I was like, "You've got jetpacks, honey. What are
Yeah.
you doing?"
But I did like him like just fully tackling Sunspot out of nowhere. Knock it. Was, yeah.
Won't blast
Fun.
him.
I loved the new Jubilee costume. I love it. I was a fan of that costume. She didn't wear it that long. I feel like it was like very short lived.
I mean, it's a rough time for Jubilee in that costume to be.
It was, yes. She was a single mom
A vampire single mom. Jesus Christ.
What a sentence. I did like Jubilee being like, everyone can fly but me, and she tries to and fails, but then she gets saved by Roberto. I find, now that I've interviewed Dee, who voices Roberto, I find like I'm like charmed 10 million times more by Roberto. And I'm like, oh, he saved her. Oh, what a man. Oh, how nice. I want her to be with him. He's so good to her. They then crash land into his mother's fundraiser, and I was fucking pissed. Like, even though we painted the mother where this makes sense, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this will be her turn. This is where she's like, oh, absolutely not. But instead, she was like, go with them. Take my
The
son.
way they came in, and immediately when they saw there were humans there, and they just like human faced essentially, and we're like, well, we're just here to protect you. Please.
We're
And
just
like,
cops. Cops
we're just
aren't bad.
cops. No, with the cops, honey.
Nothing bad's ever happened with these cops.
Yeah. Again, a little on the nose, but
Mhm.
we like it. Because I was,
But if it leads to Jubilee getting to tell off Bastion,
I will like that.
I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I think
please.
so.
Oh, I cannot wait.
I think
'Cause
it'll be
that'll be
like-
the Jubilee moment we've been waiting for.
I think it'll be like Sunspot's scared and she's just really sassy about it. Is
Oh.
probably what we'll get.
Oh.
I wouldn't mind seeing him use more of his powers.
This is the first time we saw him in full like solar form.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm a big fan of his late 90s, like red and yellow. Is it red, yellow, and blue?
But it's his red and blue with the yellow
Yes.
neck thing. I
Collar,
love that
yeah.
costume. Greg Capullo's X-Force 19 redesigns are perfect.
I think of
Boomer
that.
has Boomer down the side
I
of her
think of that
leg.
Boomer costume often.
Oh, God damn, I love her so much.
And so they get taken away in fucking shackles, and his mom is
Yeah.
like, bye. We then we'll talk about the mansion. These action scenes at the mansion were so fucking good.
It felt like this show had been giving us Wolverine blue balls, to use a very masculine metaphor here, up until this episode, because which is perfect.
Yes.
Little Wolverine goes a long way. He's been in and out, but then the instant that he gets shot at, and like you said, Joel, like the falling action sequence of him just ripping through sentinels while falling, it was so fucking cool.
And again, to your point, Joel, I don't think that could work in live action, right? Like
I don't think it would come off exactly as gracefully as I think they pulled it off in the cartoon.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I think that it would look like a CGI mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's like Iron Man 3 when he's like catching all of the people that are falling out of the plane, whatever. And it's like, whatever. But this, God. And then him landing, the shot of all of them, that quiet shot through the window of Rogue in the bed in a coma, lights out, and all of them just standing there, eyes. Great.
I was worried. Again, it like felt very horror-y, and because
Yeah.
we have been killing characters, I was like, oh shit, like, are we gonna save Rogue or something bad gonna happen? Because I love her. And that is a credit to the writing and the production of this cartoon, that we can all be like, yeah, I was worried that character would die, and it's a like superhero cartoon. That's not something I feel like I would normally say. I don't even often feel that way in like the live action movies, you know? And like, sure, they've killed characters in those, but even then it's like, this character will be fine, or they won't, whatever.
Well, it's because you're thinking like, how many more films are in the contract?
Yes,
etc.
there's always that. If a character dies and I know they have a contract, I'm like, well, they'll be back, whatever.
That's why Endgame was like, man, all their contracts are up. Who knows?
I remember my parents being like, well, you know about superhero stuff. He's gonna come back, right? And I'm like, no, his contract's done, so he's not coming back.
Oh,
like, that's how you know. Yeah, and I just the team up of Nightcrawler and Wolverine just worked really well. The animating them together made sense, right? Like it
felt
flowed.
like, I've got 6 reasons, and then Nightcrawler's, no, you've got 9, because he has 3 swords.
Brett, maybe you can answer this question for me about Nightcrawler. I don't know if this is canon or not. I just remember there was like an Uncanny issue. It must have been like in the early 2000s. I don't remember the issue, but they explained that bamfing with Nightcrawler is akin to being like physically brutalized every time you're with him in the jump. And so, and I don't like, obviously they were playing, like he's been jumping a lot of people to safety, and I think has in the comic books as well. But I've always wondered about that, like because there's not a lot of consistency to whether or not that's true, because otherwise he wouldn't be bamfing all of these like allies.
No, it used to be like in the Claremont run, it was always like physical exertion. It's like he can't do a lot. Like he can do himself and maybe one other person, but it is like hard. And then I feel like they kind of let that slide a little bit, unfortunately. And also, like when he teleports, he like uses another dimension as a go-between, and the pink smoke is that dimension's atmosphere rushing in to replace the you know, that he left, which is also why it's stinky. It smells like brimstone,
because that's where his like devil-looking dad is from, right?
We don't not canon. Let's I don't
we got rid of
know.
that.
I think we did actually get rid of it recently, but I'm behind.
I did hate that
run.
run.
Unlimited.
Yeah. That is the thing. Whenever people are arguing about like semantics, I'm like, it just depends on who's writing it. Like,
but it was cool seeing like what it looked like for Wolverine to be accidentally pulled through. Like the stretch.
That's what made me think of it, honestly.
It was cool.
Because it looks so painful. Like Wolverine's body being stretched like that. I thought the same thing. I was like, that looks unpleasant as hell to have to go through that.
And I kind of like that, like you said, he looked uncomfortable. Like he's like, his arms are out and he's just like, and I don't know. I never like gave much thought to that, like what that part looked like. And I loved fucking seeing it. It looked cool.
It is also so cool. Like when I was rewatching that fight scene, how seamlessly Nightcrawler has slotted into this, because I don't know, like I always think about how when the show started in 92, fans were rightfully like, why the fuck is Gambit here? He's been around for literally a year. Why is he gifted to be on? Nightcrawler's been on the team for and him being on this show, it has reminded me of like all of the like spokes or whatever that come out of Nightcrawler friendship wise, like him and Wolverine together, him and Rogue together, him and Jean together in this episode. Like he brings out such interesting dynamics with so many people, and I really cannot wait to see I guess Morph and Nightcrawler sharing a beer with Wolverine, and that could be a euphemism because Morph and Wolverine are fucking right.
I have to ask you this question, and you've probably already discussed it on the podcast. Morph's powers are not working, do not work in this cartoon in the way that they do in the comic book.
No, yeah, we were talking about this in the last episode, right? The fan theory being that Mr. Sinister might have injected him or something to like make it to where, because usually a shapeshifter doesn't get the powers. A shapeshifter
doesn't get the powers like the swords that he, like when he turned into magic early in the season, he had the sword still, and like Deathstrike,
and he turned into Juggernaut in this episode and like punched and had super strength. It's just so I'm wondering if they're going to reveal that, or because then he's the most powerful mutant on Earth.
Yeah, kind of.
He can turn into anyone and he's just got their powers.
I hadn't even thought about that. You're right, because like if he can, it's like
that certainly wasn't when Morph was in the 92 version. It was not, he was not that overpowered by any means.
No, and I don't even think that like AOA Morph in the comics was more like Mr. Fantastic a little bit, but I don't think that Morph even got the powers of who he turned into.
I don't think so.
So like I hope it actually is a plot point that they'll reference. So it also explains why he looks different.
I feel like they've done a good job of picking characters for Morph that aren't power based, right? Like, if he turns into Juggernaut, I think he at least gets the strength of someone who's that size.
That big.
When he turned into Psylocke, that's just, you know, karate stuff. He seems pretty good at hand-to-hand stuff. He turned into Angel, which, he's got the wings. You can glide. He never flew as Angel. He
Quicksilver is the only weird one. Yeah, because Quicksilver, he was super fast there, but that's like really good.
And any of the ones where like their accessories are also there too.
You got me on the magic one. Even with Quicksilver, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe his genes, like, it would, if he turned into Jean and used telepathy, I'd be like, that doesn't make sense. True. It's not physiological. So I think at least they've done like, but the magic one, I'm trapped. I got no, I don't know how he makes weapons appear. So maybe Maddie did it. Maybe Maddie gave him the.
Yeah, Hammy, you were speaking confidently, and I was like, no, he's 100% right. Yeah, we've never seen, and then no, we have.
No, he hasn't turned into Cyclops and used an optic blast yet. So that makes sense.
Speaking of Nightcrawler, I gotta mention the Nightcrawler always has such good relationships. I think I can't remember. What was that newer X-Men team with Firestar when she first, was it Amazing X-Men?
Yeah, Amazing X-Men, yeah.
I cried so hard in that panel. I think about it where Wolverine's hugging him in the snow, and it's like after Nightcrawler's been dead for so many years, and like Nightcrawler's always been good at being the heart of the X-Men, and I'm glad that is still the case here. Like you said, Brett, even though they just integrated him in like an episode ago, it's working, and they're doing a good job of like, he's here. Okay, I mean, he doesn't really know Jean that well. He knows Wolverine.
It'll be interesting if they do bring Kitty in next season, because the cool thing about when Kitty would join the team was she was terrified of Nightcrawler because he does look like the devil. And it was like that hesitancy that like kind of formed the foundation of a very close friendship. So it is cool. They've immediately got everyone on Nightcrawler's side. So if this little kid joins, she's like, ew, like that's a fun story. And I would like to see that.
Something that I think this show and X-Men gets away with in general really well is that because there's such a wide cultural like understanding and knowledge about X-Men, even a lot of casual people, like if you've seen a lot of the movies, if you've seen anything, like you know who Nightcrawler is, you kind of get his deals, so they can do things like just sort of throwing him into the last couple of episodes, and even casual viewers are able to be like, oh, it's that guy, it's the teleporting guy, and like you sort of, you know, like there's not a lot of explanation that's needed, because I think the X-Men are just so that big that you can kind of get away with it.
I'm now thinking of like why there weren't more memes about like Nightcrawler in a mansion hosting the traders. Because Alan Cumming. It's like there's got to be a visual joke or something.
So wait, I got to tell you all, while we were talking about Morph, I brought up the episode because I thought Morph had and he does. I'm going to read you what it says for his powers. You know, in the credits when it does the little spinny thing and it has like a little, it says Morph, transforms their voice and body to impersonate anyone and gain their physical abilities.
Okay.
Physical though. Okay.
Yeah.
Physical.
Doesn't explain
Wow,
the
theory
sword.
was
Doesn't explain the sword. No.
But-
it was
like-
it was
I
his
won't-
pinky. It was
I'm
a
a dog
very
with a bone.
long...
I will not give that up. But
but at least that explains it a little better.
yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm satisfied with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's
That's
good.
yeah. That's okay.
So we end on the mansion is in shambles. It is on fire. Wolverine specifically says, I wish Professor Xavier was here. And who crashes in? Fred.
Oh, Chuck and his one of the weird like praying mantis bug spaceships and also armor.
What is
spacesuit.
with the bug when they're bird people? That's what I was
Hey, man,
wondering
it's
about.
all creepy.
Right.
So weird.
Because she are like birds, but then they're like ships.
They fly
and
around in
helmets
bugs,
Are
yeah.
bugs. Yeah. Whatever. And I gotta say, it's corny, but him going to Me, My X-Men and seeing the like, I was like, oh, I love
No, I
this.
got tingles. I got tingles.
Yeah.
And so also the entire time of like the last like 5 minutes, I was like, Storm's showing up. Storm's showing
Yeah.
up. Storm's gonna save them. Storm, like she's gonna like, and it just didn't happen. So I'm glad they're really.
I do think, like in the first episode, when we get the like, she's not in that battle till Cyclops says, give him the forecast, and then she comes and demolishes everyone. I think we're like, that is what I think we're building towards again with Storm, like her coming in and just like demolishing a bunch of Prime Sentinels and saving like everyone. But she better be in the next episode because, like, come on.
Yeah, I do say like, even though she hasn't been, they gave her so many all-time great Storm moments in those first 2 episodes
It really did.
that it really bought them a lot of time of her
Yes.
not getting screen time later on.
They like garnered a lot of goodwill with, I mean,
Yeah.
they've garnered a lot of goodwill just in general with this storytelling,
Yeah.
where like I can say, I wish Storm was there, but I like trust that it will be paid off, or there will be a reason. And yeah, I mean, the same way we talked about this in the Xavier Life Death Part 2 episode. Like, Xavier seeing Gambit and not Magneto clearly meant Magneto couldn't be dead, because otherwise, let's be real, Xavier's mourning Magneto way
Yeah.
more than he's mourning Gambit. Like,
But I love
that is,
that
like,
at the
the love of his
time I was
life.
like, that's a weird thing, but it
Yeah.
didn't occur to me that Magneto wasn't dead. Like,
yeah.
that was cool.
So now that we're getting towards the end, I'd like to we have a little brief chat with the voice of Morph, JP Karliak.
Hi.
JP, thank you for doing this. It is so nice to see you. You were kind enough. A lot of y'all have been so gracious with your time and like reaching out, and you were very nice to like reach out and want to do this. And it has
You've
been
had T.S. Madison on your show. There's no way that I'm not doing this show. Period. Period. Full stop.
You're welcome for the shout out.
Oh my God. I lost my mind. The mistress of the elements. Oh my God.
She did a really good job, right?
She did. She did. I want to see that version. I want to see it.
Yes. So she like kept doing it, and every time I was like, I love this. Keep doing it. Like,
I'm just pitching it right now. I have no power whatsoever, but I really want Marvel to do like that. There's a multiverse of the X-Men that meet this version, and everybody on the team is queer except Morph.
I would be into that.
Totally. And T.S. Madison is Storm. Yes.
JP, do you want to tell us your X-Men origin, how you came to voice Morph?
Sure. First of all, outside of Philly, I'm also a Pennsylvania child. So,
okay.
yes, Scranton though. I'm Electric City kid.
Okay.
Yeah. So Morph. I mean, it was an audition, like a lot of them. You know, there wasn't a lot of fanfare around it, aside from the fact that it was heavily redacted.
All of you have said that like you didn't know that it was for.
Yeah, although I had a sneaky suspicion, and so I called Meredith, who is the casting director and voice director of the show, and I was like, "Is this?" And she's like, "Uh-huh." I'm like, "Oh, okay." But I did know that the character was non-binary from the beginning, and yeah, I did an audition, I did a callback, I think we did a test read like of one of the episodes, and that was it. And all from the comfort of my own little booth right here. Like, you know, it's one of those things where it never feels like a thing until suddenly like something like the premiere happens and then you meet all the cast and oh my God, it's such a big deal and the fan reactions. But up until then, it's like, I did it all in here, you know? Yeah.
That is that still because y'all like recorded during lockdown, right? Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yep.
So, but now you probably would go to a studio, or would they still do it like that? Oh yeah, that's cool
Mhm.
though.
I mean, sometimes there's more, and this is kind of across the board, not just X-Men, but there's more instances where I will go in to studio, um, and sometimes I have the option.
Hmm.
I live down in Long Beach, so
Okay.
I'm a good chunk of a drive away from Burbank, which is where a
Okay.
lot of this stuff gets recorded. So if I'm up there, I'll be like, hey, I'm up here. Let's do a record in person. But if I'm down here, and especially if it's like 3 lines and nobody else is coming in, I'm like,
Right.
can I just do it here? You know.
That is nice that they give you
Um,
the option though, because I know certain companies should be very strict about those things. That's cool that.
yeah, video games are a whole different thing because
Mhm.
they're so specific about the way the sound is recorded. They get really tight about that. So most of the time, I do go into studio for those.
Okay. Do with that stuff, like this is not your first, first time at the rodeo. You've done many voice acting jobs. Do they send you equipment, or do they like are they like, oh, you have it, you're fine, or do they send you like a mic?
I have my own mic, and 99% of the time that's what I use. But there were, again, video games that would messenger over like this this suitcase that looked like it held a bomb or something, and it would come with like specific mics and stuff like that. This was usually like when I would do video games where I would wear would look like a swimmer's cap that had like the mic right here.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so that's when I would have to do that. But otherwise, no, I just use them on here.
I thought those were only. I've seen like I know that because having friends that like do theater, I know that like for some like productions with the costume, they will wear those things. That's like the only time I've seen those.
Yeah, these are slightly different. If you've ever seen behind the scenes of people doing like performance capture where they're in the suit with the
Yeah,
balls
yeah.
and the stuff, and like sometimes they'll have that one right there. It actually has like the microphone like wind sponge on it. It's not quite so
Okay.
inconspicuous as the one in theater, but
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense. I gotta ask, and totally okay if the answer is no. Were you an X-Men gal before this?
Before this,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. But when people are like, "Did you watch the original series as a child?" No, I did not. And it was only because um, so X-Men for me aired in the afternoon on Fox Kids, and I would get home from school just as the credits were rolling, and then I would watch the Power Rangers, which was my jam.
That's fair.
So it wasn't until the movies came out that I really got into
Mhm.
X-Men and then started just being obsessive about it. And, once YouTube and Wikipedia were a thing, just like deep diving about like, who is that? Tell me more. So yeah, I kind of came back around to the series. Certainly once I got cast in this, that's when I really started digesting the series. And I mean, now everything makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's like this show feels very much for nerds of a certain age, which I really appreciate.
Mhm.
And that certain ages, around our ages.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if this is different from like other, you've done other animated things and like, but this is very much adult, but like a kid could watch it. Has it been different for you, like doing this as opposed to other stuff or
Oh
not
my God,
really?
totally. Well, in the recording, about the same. I mean, I sometimes I've done very grounded, serious characters in kids animation, and sometimes I've done wackadooey characters in adult animation. So it all varies.
That's fair.
But as far as the response, I mean, it's completely different. Like, I've played some very well-known characters. I was Boss Baby, Wile E. Coyote, Green Goblin, like, Willy Wonka. But everything that
Flex that resume. Yes.
yeah, but all of those, every single time I played them, it was for a property that was aimed at like 5 to 8 year olds,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
So they're not going to cons, they're not on Twitter, they're not. Well, I don't know what they think. It probably won't be until I'm like, in my like late 50s, early 60s where they've grown up, and then I'm going to the Remember When conventions and they're like, "Oh my God, I loved you as a child," that but I have no idea. So this is the first time I've really gotten to experience the amazingness of a fan base like this. It's so cool.
But some of the fans have been a little what's the polite word I'm looking for? Intense.
You know that you're toxic. Yeah.
I like, those people that were like furious that Morph was non-binary, and then it's like a non-issue in the show, right?
Well,
Like,
I mean, let's be real. They are not fans. If they were fans, then they would embrace what the X-Men are actually about, where the origin of the X-Men actually is as being born out of the civil rights movement. If they actually were fans, then they would be like, "Oh, this makes perfect sense.
right.
Maybe I have something to learn here," as opposed to, you're screwing with my childhood. It's like, did you actually watch the series? Did you pay attention at all? Because
And how much did you pay attention that like Morph was that much on your radar that you are so upset that it could possibly be that this person who shape shifts is like, that's crazy to you?
look, I mean, in the original series, my favorite episode, it's a two-parter, but my favorite Morph episode is Reunion. And they find Morph, who has been AWOL since coming out of, like, no longer being. Oh wait, no, is this before or after? No, he's still under the spell of Mr. Sinister. So they finally find him, and he is doing theater in a tent, for starters, doing a one-man show of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And if you look at that, at all of the scenes that are happening inside the theater, every single person in that audience is sort of a strapping man. There's no women in that audience, and I'm like, I swear to God, this guy is performing at P-Town. You cannot tell me that they didn't know he was queer to begin with. The bad press has actually been good press for me because I always bring this one up, but there was some hateful person that put me on their website and called me a radical queer activist, which I was like,
Yeah.
and talked about the organization that I run, QueerVox, and basically just put our mission statement on their website without saying, just like that we're evil because we believe in these things, and I'm like,
Right.
well, I mean, great journalism, because that's all true. I have nothing to refute here, so yeah, it's been great for me.
I love the idea of being like, well, this is a great press release. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you mind if my publicist takes this?
What have you thought? Like a lot of the cast that I've spoken to, and I feel like this is probably common with a lot of things, but especially Marvel, like y'all didn't know kind of what was going to happen in episodes you're not in. What has that been like? Like have you like kept up with some of them? Like, did you know about, because Morph is in there, but I don't think you have a line and remember it, right? Did you know
No,
that was happening?
Nope. So we've been doing these watch parties there's this Star Wars themed bar in Hollywood called Scum and Villainy. And every Wednesday, one member of the cast has been showing up there and doing a watch party that these guys organize. And so we were at a party for episode 4, and I was hosting episode 5. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be here next week doing the thing." And they were all like, "You're doing 5?" And I'm like, "Guys, what am I missing? What happens? Oh my God, what happens?" So I dragged it out of them. I was freaking out because everybody was really on pins and needles about it happening, because look, the execution was stunning. But if it went over badly, like, "Oh my God, what you just did," like, just flip the table and revolt, like, "That's it. I'm never watching this show again."
You're like, can I have a blast shield in case?
No, that's what I was like, I think I'm gonna wear riot gear, like, Um, but luckily, I actually got up at 5 o'clock the morning that episode aired just to watch it, and I just had such a big sigh of relief. through my sobs because it was so beautiful. But it was painfully obvious. It was so well done, and even at that early in the morning, that online the reaction was just gobsmacked. Which yeah.
I now trust everything. I'm like, well, I have no idea what's like, after last week's episode, I'm like, I have no idea where they're going, but like I fully know I'm in good hands, so I'm just enjoying the ride. Which is really nice to feel about some show that you love, right? Because sometimes, you can love a show and be like, oh, but are they gonna do this? Oh, but what are they gonna do with this character? And I'm like, I have no idea what they're gonna do, but I trust that I will love it. Like,
Well, I think there's so many things working in its favor. Because it has this existing IP. They don't have to origin story anybody.
That's true.
And this, unlike, because there's so much prestige adult animation that's out there right now, like Castlevania, Blood of Zeus, What If, Arcane, Blue-Eyed Samurai, like there's just so
my
many.
friend's been trying to get me to watch that. I haven't watched that one yet.
You have to. Oh, good. But some of those, Invincible, another one, like some of them are way bloodier.
Yeah.
And so there's a slightly narrower audience that just by nature of that will be watching it. And then a lot of them also come from considerably lesser known properties.
Yeah.
Or at least that don't have 5 seasons already building it up. So they do have to do the work of like getting people on board. But so this has that appointment viewing sort of feel to it.
It does.
Because it is walking that beautiful line of it feels like that childhood thing you watch, but it also has just enough of gravitas and adult flavor to it that you don't feel like an idiot for being like, why am I, oh my God, I'm watching this. It's such a guilty pleasure. No, it isn't.
Yeah,
To
it
me,
isn't. It's not at all.
Yeah.
What's been put into Morph has been really appreciated because I feel like folks like us are like, I know what this is. The Goblin Queen episode where where Morph like has his like Freddy's Revenge Nightmare on Elm Street moment where like he kind of sees Wolverine and Wolverine is naked and he's like, going in. I appreciate that because I would have never thought y'all would have been able to, like, if you had told me before the show aired, well, we might have, a scene where Wolverine's naked and Morph is like going in to like see him, I'd have been like, bullshit. But like, there we are.
Here we are. We did it. We went there.
Are you a horror gal like me?
Yes and no. I do enjoy it, but my husband is very anti-horror. Cannot not his thing. Cannot stand it. So I actually watch. Do you ever watch Kill Count on YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm often watching Kill Count to be like, well, I know I'm not going to be able to watch this movie with anybody, but I can watch the recap. But there's certain, like, I'm specific about horror.
Okay.
Like I love Scream. All of the Screams, absolutely. I know. I saw. I don't think I didn't notice that Ghostface Neon Killer. And also like those witty ones like Cabin in the Woods or Ready or Not, or like, that have sort of like a sense of humor and a wink and a nod. A wink and a nod and a knife. Like
yeah,
I'm into it.
Wait, what's your Scream? Do you have a set order of Scream movies?
Oh, like which one? Like,
yeah,
which are my favorites?
There's no wrong answer because they don't have any misses.
No, I mean, the first one for me is always like
same.
Yeah, no, I mean, the first 10 minutes of that movie probably changed. Like, the first 10 minutes of that movie changed what my whole fear zone was. Like, before it was clowns. Like, I was like, oh my God, no, it. Oh my God, terrified. Tim Curry's going to come and kill me in the night. And then I saw that. I'm like, oh no, it's going to be a real person. Probably somebody I know. Don't know who they are, but they're going to come in a mask and murder me. Wonderful. Like, yeah. Like,
as a kid, my parents had the phone that Drew Barrymore has. And so I would get scared sometimes. I'd be like, Ghostface, like that looks like the same phone Drew Barrymore answers and she dies.
Yeah. I never looked at cable knit sweaters or Jiffy Pop the same way.
Right.
But I'd say I love the first one. I love the second one. Third one I'm okay on.
Yeah.
but then I think once we get into Jenna Ortega, which is that 5?
5 and 6, yeah.
Yeah, then I'm in. Then I'm back in. But like 3, 4,
JP, I'm so glad that we shared, because a lot of people like rag on those newer ones, and I love 5. Like, I think it's
oh
like
my God. Jack Quaid, fantastic. Didn't see that coming. Did see I can't remember the name of the girl.
Amber, yeah.
Amber.
So wait, I gotta ask you, did you watch Buffy? Were you a Buffy person? No, okay.
I've seen 1 episode. No, I've seen 2 episodes of Buffy. I've seen, and I'm gonna say this, drag me, but the one I saw the finale.
Okay.
Which it's like, why the fuck did you see the finale? Well, like, sorry, I did. It wasn't on purpose.
I've done that before, where it's like, girls, I watched the first 2 seasons, clocked out, and then was like, let me watch the finale. Had no idea the context, but I still watched it.
I did that for 6 Feet Under, and my friends screamed at me. They were like, "You needed to say." I'm like, trust me. I loved watching that last montage with that Pretty Sia song and everybody dying.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't need to know anything else. But yeah, Buffy. So I watched the finale, and then the only other episode I watched, which I'm gonna say did not in any way encourage me to pick up the rest, was. It was kind of like a weird science thing where there was like a girl who was like, she was a cyborg or a robot.
Oh, Some Assembly, Made to Love You, where she's like, where Buffy walks in on her mom dead at the end of the episode, and it's like, be continued.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Oh.
Maybe.
She's wearing like a pink dress, black hair.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and didn't the girl like run out of batteries or something?
Yes.
She's sitting on a swing set, and suddenly she's just,
Yeah.
That's all I remember. And it was sort of like, oh.
Well,
right.
that is not an episode that I would ever show anyone to be like, hey, this will get you into the show.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've been told. Like, this was not the best pick. Do you know I've done an episode of TV with Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Rude that you couldn't even appreciate that she was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What was the episode? Tell me.
Do you remember that series she did, Ringer?
Yeah.
Where she played her own twin.
Yes.
I was a sassy party planner, shocker, and this is why my on-camera career never took off. But yeah, I had I think 2 scenes, and they were both opposite her, and yeah, she was really nice.
I know we can't talk about what will happen, but what would you like to see happen with Morph?
So this is my wish list.
Okay.
Am I going to get any of this? Probably not, but I'd like to see it. Either this season or in any of the 2 seasons that we're getting after this. So
yes, it just today, right? Announced the 3rd season is happening.
Oh, was it today? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe today or yesterday. I don't know, but yeah.
Somebody mentioned it in a previous interview that it's like, you've just been greenlit for seasons 2 and 3. I'm like, oh, okay, I can say that now. Cool. Don't kill me, Disney. So I would love to explore more of the friendship between Morph and Wolverine. And I do say it's a friendship. I am one of those people. Because we are queers of a certain age, I am sick to death of the queer person pining over a straight person.
That's fair.
But the idea of them just being pals and being able to talk about like, oh my God, I met this boy last night. You did? I met this girl. Oh my God, it was so cool. Like, that's so much more refreshing. And also, I've had those friends. Like, you know.
I just saw a tweet actually that was about that. It was like, every gay person deserves their like platonic love, straight guy best friend. And a lot of the replies were like, oh, but then you fall in love. And I'm like, no, that's a really, like, my straight best friend is like my little brother. Like, I love our platonic love, and it's nice, right?
Yeah. And I mean, look, rare is the occasion where 2 masked humans, or, you know, assigned male at birth, the people with testosterone get into a room and don't like do the, like, you know. But, you know, even with friendships like that, it passes, and then it just becomes like, oh, you're like my brother. Like, this is, you know. And yeah, I love those friendships. That said, I would love for Morph to have a romantic interest, and especially somebody that maybe, I think we find Morph in this season very much, he just rejoined the team. He's still, as you noted in the credits, figuring out how to process all of this trauma. And I think maybe somebody who sort of helps him push through that and not have to rely so much on being the wisecracker to cover up the pain. Yeah, he deserves love. I want that for him.
Yeah.
I also want him to be able to kick the shit out of Mr. Sinister. That's
Yes.
I mean, at this point though, now that we know that Mr. Sinister is behind Genosha, it's like, well, I guess we all have to kick his ass. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, everyone.
we all get a punch.
You're gonna get a morph. Is Morph gonna get a figure? You're gonna get a figure of your character?
Oh my God, I want one so bad. So I have, well, not just any figure. So since I have done a bunch of legacy characters, I get a Funko Pop for everyone that I've done, and I'm dying for the Morph one. You know.
Wait. I gotta flex. How big is that? Like that shelf of legacy characters?
Oh, hold on.
Oh, cute, nice.
Yeah,
I hope you tell everyone
that top shelf up there.
I hope you tell everyone that comes in your house, like, oh, these are all the characters I've played. Was it different for you, like coming into something that you could tell, like, could you reading these lines where you're like, this is written by a queer person? Like, did it feel a little different, like where the character was going and like yeah.
No, I mean, it definitely, and not just Bo, but there's a bunch of queer people that work on this series, and it is evident. It is just the care that is taken with it. And also there never feels the need. There's so much rich allegory that comes with, like, you know, the pulse allegory for Genosha. It resonates so strongly with us because you can feel it from somebody who knows it, lived it, has been through it.
Yeah.
As opposed to what can sometimes feel like when our queer stories come from an inauthentic place, and it feels like we were just sort of taped on, you know, like just to check a box. You know, I like to think that there have been I won't name them because I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, but like, you know, there's been a bunch of animated properties, films, TV, whatever, that have thrown in a queer character, and some of them have done it beautifully. But by and large, when they have, it's because there were queer storytellers telling it. And when it hasn't succeeded, it's felt like somebody just trying to get on the diversity train, but not willing to do, like, actually hire the right people to tell that story. And it just feels like,
I feel like
that person just said, I'm gay, in front of a whole room of people for no reason at all, but just, it was like, oh,
hello,
why?
homosexual here. And it's like,
I
feel like that is one of the few times that like we might agree with those angry bros, but just for a fully different reason.
Totally. Yeah. For a fully, because, and I think, like, as you mentioned before, the people quieting down, when you tell the story effectively, like, you know, the same thing happened with Black Panther. Like, everybody was just like, whoa, Black Panther. But then when the movie came out, it was freaking amazing. Everything gets quiet all of a sudden when you're up against excellence. Like, you got nothing there. The first Wonder Woman movie, you got nothing.
It
was gorgeous. Like, you know,
then my brain is like, I want to go back and find those commenters and be like, what do you think now? As if that would do anything. But I just get like, I'm like, aha, look how wrong you were. No one cares. Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me at my website, which is jpkarliak.com, or Instagram, which is jpkarliak. I have a unique name, so if you just type that in, you'll find me.
That is a nice thing on the internet, right? Having a unique name. Ian Carlos Crawford. I am the only Ian Carlos Crawford.
the middle name really ties it up the right way. Yeah. Or you can find my nonprofits, Nerds Vote or Queervox Academy, just at those things, Queervox Academy or at Nerds Vote. Yeah.
Also, wait, I forgot to tell you. Tell everyone what those are, because I think that's awesome that you work with those groups.
Oh, thanks. So I have two nonprofits. One is Queervox, which is a organization dedicated to oh, wow. Did I just lose the mission of my own freaking org? I think I've said it like 6 times today, and I'm just like, huh? Yeah. Queervox is a community and academy for LGBTQIA+ voice actors that advocates for authentic and diverse employment for them. Yeah, it's a great online community. We do classes. We have an online talent directory. We do advocacy with industry to make sure they know what they're talking about when it comes to diverse hiring. So we do all that. And then Nerds Vote is basically a voter registration organization aimed at gamers, con-goers, cosplayers, and pop culture fans of all kinds, aka nerds.
Cool. Well, thank you for doing this. Everyone go check out all of JP's things. I think they're both linked in your Instagram bio, aren't they?
Yes, for sure.
So that's an easy way for everyone to get to them. And thank you all for listening. All right, everyone. And
Wow.
now that we are at the end, what was your favorite scene, Hammy?
Oh, my favorite scene was, I'm gonna cop out and just say the fight scene with Nightcrawler and
That's not a
Wolverine.
cop-out.
The action has really been crushing it, and that scene was exceptionally good.
So Hammy and I were texting yesterday about his X-Men thoughts, and I was like, I kept joking that I was waiting for you to be like, well, I don't really, well, and it's just, I love hearing you gush
Be
about
excited
something.
about
Yeah.
something. My journey with this show has been wild. Like, episode 1 I did not like, and I posted that I did not like it, and I got the wrath of everyone. And then Inferno I loved, and then everyone I did the podcast with did not like the Inferno episode because they wanted more Maddie. And I was like, oh no, that episode never aired. They were like, no, Mike, your opinions don't matter. And it's been a anyway. I'm here. I'm positive. I'm liking it. I'm back on board. I'm sad that it's ending in 2
If you would have
weeks.
had me on earlier in the season, I would have been more aligned with you on that for sure. I really struggled with a couple of the episodes early in the season to mid-season, and it's only really from Genosha on that I've really been locked in and really feel like it's you finally see the vision, I think, and that has been really so. Yeah, I'm now fully locked in for sure.
Well, I'm glad I had you both on later on in the season.
Smart man.
Joel, what was your favorite scene?
I'm sorry, I have to say the same. It's the Nightcrawler Wolverine, from Wolverine falling all the way straight through that fight sequence for sure.
Yeah. Brett?
I'll give it to the Summers clan because I'm not usually down with some. I mean, like, I like the Summers family, fine, but I loved their dynamic and just the entire car chase sequence and all of them using their powers as a fucking family. Cyclops just plowing a hole through a mountain while Cable it was again a thing you cannot do in live action.
I
And
was
it
watching that
just-
scene and I was like, wait, what's going on? Oh, of course, he's blowing through a mountain. Sure. What?
Yeah. So, and then they burst out and Jean gets them in a bubble and then they land, they all strike a pose because the Summers family knows drama.
Listen, all the X-Men. I gotta say, I don't have my notes on like where do we not wrap up that scene? Is it like just like Magneto does the pulse? They don't actually defeat them, right? It's like he does the pulse and that's how they like
Yeah,
get
that's
away.
how.
Okay.
Yeah, because he does
Okay.
the EMP and
I have the same scene as Hammy and Joel. I saw on Twitter, I can't remember, I think it might have been one of the storyboard artists for X-Men 97 that was like, I always wanted Wolverine to actually use his claws in fights. I was so happy he got to use his claws. And I didn't think about that, how like, that's kind of true, right? In the cartoon, because it like, he would be killing people. It's like he would just kind of punch and he'd chop a steel something up or like a wood. But yeah,
like Gambit's cards always missed, or like they had to like land at the feet and then explode, and
But like, I just loved it. It was fucking cool. But a close second is Xavier saying to meet my X-Men. Like that just like worked so well for me. And I wouldn't have thought it would. Yes, Hammy?
Is there a reason why it was those 4 specific X-Men? Because like he was very close to Beast. They were both. I didn't know if that was a reference to something. Those are just
weren't the
his
ones.
favorites.
Who was the 4? Those are the ones that weren't there. Because Storm.
Yeah, I think it was just the ones who weren't there.
Beast. It was Beast, Storm,
Cyclops.
Jean, and Cyclops.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Beast was there.
Maybe just the original. He's just like, I like this one.
Oh yeah, maybe.
These are the ones I want to come
Jubilee.
to me.
Jubilee and Rogue, no thank you.
I did see someone's post. It was like Xavier only called the smartest X-Men. Everyone else, he was like, whatever. Which, sure. What grade do we give this episode, Brett?
I mean, I'll go A minus, just because I'm hoping that we can get, they got to leave some room, right?
Fair. Hammy?
I will go with the B. I'll say B. B.
Joel?
Yep.
If I were a regular host on this podcast, I think I would say B plus for the reasons that Brett sort of outlined, where you kind of want to leave room for them to clear the bar that's being set by this episode. But since I'm not, I'm just gonna say A. I really liked it.
I mean, I am a regular host and I'm going to say an A because I fucking loved it. Yeah, thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. This was a lot of fun. I've had so many people message me to be like, you seem really happy covering X-Men. I'm like, I fucking am. I love covering this. This was like my favorite thing as a kid. So this has been a lot of fun for me. If you liked Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can watch the full video. Every X-Men episode is a video recording. You can watch us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and give us a good rating. If you subscribe on Spotify, you can support us on Patreon. We're going through Batman the Animated Series and Buffy Season 3. We do little Zoom watches and stuff like that. Any and all support is much appreciated. If you want to follow us on social, we are at SlayerFestX98. If you want to follow me, I am at ENX Carlos. Hammy, where can everyone find you?
Oh, everyone can find me at Hammy73 on Instagram. If you want to see just the cosplay stuff and not the slutty stuff, you can follow me at michael.ham.cosplay on Instagram. In June, I've got a show with Seattle with the Gay Men's Chorus and newly announced All-Star Nina. Oh my God. Nina West
Yeah.
from RuPaul's Drag. I was about to say Nina Flowers. With Nina West, so I'll be out there in June for that, and
Nice.
yeah, maybe San Diego Comic-Con. So stay tuned.
Nice. Well, we'll have to make sure we see each other and hug. Brett, where can everyone find you when you're writing?
You can read my words at decider.com, and you can follow my drag career as Barb Hardley on Instagram at Barb Hardley, and YouTube, Barb Hardley, where I, do Marvel related stuff.
Very good drag meets geek content.
But I'm not a cosplay queen.
Right.
I'm a glamour queen.
Yes. That's
I am. I don't know.
Brett, I think that's what I like most about it is that you aren't doing what you would think a nerdy queen would do, but then you're talking about X-Men action figures.
I like dressing like Ava Gabor and opening up a Cyclops bubble bath statue.
And Joel, where can everyone find you? Which I have to tell you, before you do that, I gotta say, the day after I booked you, you posted that picture of the person heckling you, and I was like, oh my God, should I send Joel an email to be like, I'm really sorry this happened, that's terrible. And then the next day saw that it was a joke.
It was a bit, yeah.
But where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Insta and Twitter at I Hate Joel Kim. And Loot Season 2 is airing now on Apple TV+.
Nice. I just saw the clip you posted, which Maya Rudolph is a fucking
Maya Rudolph,
delight.
I mean, start the Emmy campaign. She is amazing.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.